Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. This is the fourth part in a six-part series that we have been presenting here at corecubed, basically on marketing aging care services. And we are going to focus today on the website as the core of marketing activities. Before we start, let me just mention that I have all of you on mute mode, which means that we will not be disturbed by your comings and goings or what's happening on in your office, but it does not mean that we don't want to hear from you. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you should be able to ask questions. We will have a question and answer session at the end, and we have reviewed all of your questions that you sent in when you signed up, so hopefully we'll be covering that on this webinar today. My name is Marilee Orsini, and I am an expert aging care marketing strategist. I've actually been working in aging care since 1981. Probably since before many of you who are on this webinar today were born. I've had some successes along the way, but my passion is really aging care services and businesses that do meet the needs of an aging population. So I'm now in my 32nd year of either running an agency, being a geriatric care manager, or marketing and working with other businesses in the aging care service spectrum. So I'm really happy to be here today, but I'm thrilled that I can introduce you to Will Chatham, who is our web manager. And what I like best about Will is, well, there's lots of things I like about Will, but he says if there were a PhD offered in geek, then he would definitely have one. He is our resident technology and SEO expert, and he has been working on the internet and in technology directly since 1999. Lots of different skill sets, and I think you will enjoy very much hearing from him today. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. I want to just recap a little bit some of the other parts of the series, because some of the questions that we got on when you all signed up for the webinar today we did cover in past sessions, and obviously the reason we're doing a six-part series is there's a lot of information to cover. So I think one of the crucial things when you're talking about marketing aging care services is who is the target. And there are two different types of elderly. There's the frail elderly and the active elderly. And so it's important to know whatever business you're providing, who you're targeting. And if you're targeting a service that is aimed at the frail elderly, it is usually not the elderly person themselves that make the decision. It is usually someone else, and normally the oldest daughter. So there are different age ranges here now. I just went to the American Society on Aging conference a few weeks ago, and there was a great visual of a sixth-generation family. So the oldest was 113. And her daughter was in her 90s, so I mean it really does, if you look back in 20-year segments, it'll probably give you the appropriate age for the children, 20 to 30-year segments for the children of the frail person. There's also lots of advisors, and when someone is trying to make decisions about what to do with the frail elderly person who needs care, who needs services, who needs products, then there's all different types of people that are in their support system that might also be those decision makers. It's also important to realize that people who are making decisions might be local to the frail elderly person, but there are going to be many of those people who are not local, so who are looking for services, looking for solutions, but they're not in a geographic proximity to the person who actually needs the care. And for the active elderly, don't you dare ask someone else to make a decision for them. The active elderly is going to want to make all the decisions themselves, perhaps including their spouse or their partner, but there is a clear distinction. And one of the things that I need to remind everyone is that although we designate 60, 65 is when someone becomes elderly, that really isn't the case, because although, yes, you're eligible for Social Security and for discounts on some things, but But the products and services are going to be completely different for someone. It's really not based on age. What it's based on is ability to function. So functional ability or frailty is going to be the determining factor, not the age. So when you're talking about targeting decision makers and targeting people for specific products and services, then you really need to keep those things in mind. The internet is basically how people are currently getting information. There was some stagnation among this group, but now gains are really significant, and we're seeing that people over 65 are really finding more and more information on the internet and continuing to increase their mobile device usage. We also talked in our second webinar about reaching more people for less money, and I might remind you that this entire series you can go back and view. It's on our corecubed.com about events section, so you can go back and catch up any of these that you didn't get a chance to attend before. Understanding how to do more for less is really sort of synonymous with understanding basic marketing strategy. And marketing strategy is how you're getting in front of people so that they're going to pay attention. And that pretty simple sounding, very hard to do. Knowing the target, and that is specifically who it is that's making the decisions about purchasing your product or service. And knowing the message that resonates with that target. For instance, a young message targeted to a young person would be different. A message targeted to an active elderly person would be different. A message targeted to an adult daughter of a frail elderly person would be different. So understanding the message that is going to make that target pay attention. And then very crucial is marrying that message with the visual. So having a picture, a visual that really accompanies that message that also resonates with the target. And then finding the best way, the best channel to reach the decision makers. So, whether that's placing an ad, using media, using the internet, there's lots of different ways to get a message out, and it's finding the best way to reach the decision makers. So this is just a little more in-depth about the basic marketing strategy and reinforcing the fact that these are really the things that you need to think about when you are trying to market to a specific population. And who is online is the target. We are seeing more and more usage of internet, as I said earlier, trying to find health information, searching for things, and family caregivers are definitely searching online and continuing to search online. The other things we suggest is if you have a plan, you're going to make far more headway than if you don't have a plan. And if you test your messages to see what works best and look and see what your competition is doing, that's another shortcut to looking for your messages. And then understanding that visuals and branding consistency is really going to help you in the long run. And one of the keys here that I haven't mentioned before, is measuring for results. What is working? Look at what is working and do more of what is working. We did a whole section on marrying the message with the visual and with some good examples, and I'm not going to go over that except to talk about the importance of the visual in today's marketing, because with social media and the internet being places where people are going to find information, they are naturally drawn to visuals that attract their attention first. So, and that visual definitely has to be married to the message. And we have a great webinar on that, and you can watch that and get some good examples. For today, we are going to cover the increasing importance of your website, of a business's website, to the strategy for marketing and also to results for marketing efforts. We're going to look at mobile devices, how they're gaining a greater share of searches, and how do you mobile enable a website so that someone who's searching is going to get good information that in a format that will be easy for them to see when they're on a mobile device. And then we're also going to talk about search engines and ranking and how does one not only draw traffic to the website, but how does someone get someone to convert? First, let me just cover that today's website really is sort of a catch-all. It really is a replacement and alternative for the traditional Yellow Pages. I'm sure you've all had contests where someone tries to find something in the Yellow Pages and someone else tries to find something online to see who can get there first. And if your online search is mobile enabled, then the person who's online can actually make the phone call without having to write the number down or do anything, just go straight through. Also, today's web is really a starting point for research on healthcare. More and more people are researching options for healthcare online than ever before and looking for ways to solve problems. And as most of you who work in the frail elderly services population know, that it starts with a problem. Someone has a care need and is trying to figure out how to solve that care need. Also, a comparative resource for finding and pricing items and services. And then lastly, a fabulous avenue for recruitment that is certainly saving people a lot of money and helping people find much better staff. So what does it take for a website to be effective? Well, first off, it has to be graphically pleasing. We had a couple of questions from people to say, what could I do to make my website more pleasing? And Will and I actually took a look. And, you know, graphically pleasing, branded to the agency, is something that a designer really ought to be doing. And some of the sites we looked at today look like they probably were homemade as opposed to done professionally. So I think that whole marrying the message with the visual and having it branded to the agency, the first thing on a website, it really does need to be graphically pleasing first and foremost. But it also has to be easy to navigate. It really needs to be informative. Again, why are people online? They're looking for information. It needs to be helpful and interactive. Someone needs to be able to go to the website and actually accomplish an action if they want someone to call them back, or they want to download a white paper, or they want to take a quiz to see where they are on a scale of functionality. It must be quick to load, which has to do with the design of the website and also where it's hosted. And crucial is that effective websites, they have to be updated regularly and maintained. The information must be current. There's nothing that's a bigger turnoff than going to a website and looking at their latest events or activities and seeing that they're out of date. Just some basics, good contact information on each page, and in the design of the website, search engine optimization must be considered. The internet is really fluid. It's interactive. It really is a global medium at this point. As broadband becomes more common across the globe, then the internet is a faster place to get information, and also to have different kinds of information. Video, for instance, is much easier now because of broadband. It's also available 24/7. It's an always open event, so someone doesn't have to wait for a time zone to or a time certain. They can find information whenever they want to. The smart small companies actually have a level playing field, because on the website it's impossible to tell unless you know the company if it's a big company or a small company. So it really is the nature of the internet is continuing to be more and more important as the industry grows and as more and more people use it and come online. This is the latest Pew study reporting internet usage for adults, and it is astounding and continuing to grow. So some of these statistics are pretty amazing, but what this means is, and obviously you can look, wherever you are, you're going to see people on their smartphones or on their tablets, so it shouldn't be a surprise that so many people are actually turning to the internet for a variety of things. So, and this one thing is once online, always online. So one time, as soon as somebody realizes the power of the internet and the positives of the internet, then they're going to stay online once they're online. So Will, do you want to join us now and talk about search engine marketing and promotion?
Absolutely. Thanks for the recaps and the intro to what we're going to be discussing here. I'm going to get a little bit more in depth in some of the technical aspects of getting your website built correctly, optimized correctly, and marketed correctly on the internet. Just to start with some general overviews of the concepts that I'm going to be going into. The overall process of marketing your site involves a number of things, including getting it prepared so that it is search engine friendly, meaning that the search engines can find it and crawl through it and find all the good content you have prepared for them. And then it can also involve an ongoing measurement of your traffic and the visitors to your website and their behavior and adapting to that traffic. It can involve getting social media accounts set up so that not only are you using social media to shout your message from the hilltops, but you're also using social media to bring more people to your website and inform them and make them aware. It can involve paid advertisements. I'll talk a little bit about that later as well, pay-per-click campaigns, that is. But overall, the concept of marketing your website is one that really involves getting it optimized for the search engines so that the people that you want to attract can find you. And that in and of itself is a whole specialized profession called search engine optimization. And basically search engine optimization is at its most basic level getting your website in a state where search engines can find it so that you are more likely to appear higher in the search results than your competitors. And there are many tactics to do that, and we're going to be discussing those today. But one of the most useful ways of doing this these days is by making sure that your website itself is useful and does have valuable content on it, and that it is up to date, and that it is relevant to what people are looking for. Google in particular, the biggest search engine, most popular search engine out there, they have really placed an importance on websites that are up to date, that are current, that are trusted among other websites, and they can determine that by whether or not other websites are linking to your website. And so it's important for you to use your website as a place to convey your message, to state your expertise, and to keep updated with events and information and articles and that sort of thing. And all of that can help send Google the signal that you are worthwhile and that you are worth showing in their search results. So some of the basics of search engine optimization would be to start with some market research. You want to find out who your competitors are. Merrily, we're on the next slide here, I think. Yeah, so you want to do some market research. See who is out there in your city or the cities that you serve, for example, or in the specific services you're offering, whatever your niche is, your market. You want to go find out who's out there, what they're doing, and keeping that in mind, you want to start building a list of keywords, which would be the actual words people are searching for in Google to find you. So you would obviously want to find out what your competitors are optimizing their websites for as far as keywords go, and then start to build your own list of keywords that would be valuable for you to optimize your website for in order to attract those online searchers. The website's structure is a crucial element of all of this. You need to make sure that the way your website is coded behind the scenes is as cleanly coded as possible so that the website is responsive and fast. Also, a cleanly coded website is a more search engine friendly website. Google and the other search engines, they have these automated scripts or programs that they send out across the internet every day, every hour of every day, and they're called spiders, search engine spiders. And what those spiders do is they crawl their way through websites, and what they find on those websites they send back to Google, and it's important that when those search engine spiders hit your website, they can find all of the relevant content and information as easily as possible. So one way to help ensure that is making sure your website is built using clean coding practices. There are also a number of on-page optimization techniques to use, and typically that refers to ways to include your keywords that you're targeting on your website and on your web page. Some of that involves the actual coding, some of the meta information that is kind of hidden inside of your HTML, and then some of it involves just the way you've named your pages and titles and some of the content on the page as well. And can also involve making sure that you're using, you're adding images and videos and other things to your website in a manner that the search engine spiders can see and understand and associate with your content and keywords. Link building is a strategy for basic search engine optimization that can help get your website placed higher in the search results than your competitors. The way you link build the way you build links, that is, has changed over the last few years as the way that Google works has changed as well. So what used to be a strategy of just going out and trying to get as many other websites to link to you as possible in order to help promote your ranking has evolved more into a strategy of providing a solid foundation on your website, providing that useful content, and encouraging people to come find it and encouraging people to link to it naturally. And natural is the key word here. Google does not like to see things that are constructed artificially. They don't like artificial relationships, so they don't want to see you out there buying links to your website on other websites or creating some kind of link scheme where you have several people agreeing to post links to each other's sites in order to get that search engine traffic. Instead, Google likes to see that people are linking to you because you have written an excellent blog post, for example, or that you have a page of frequently asked questions about home health care, for example. So they like to see people building these links naturally like that by providing the updated or the relevant content on your website. Measuring results is an absolute must for basic search engine optimization, and I'll get a little more into that as well. But keeping up to date, that's the other part of the relevant content. You want to make sure you're constantly adding things to your website, and then talking about them on social media and sending signals out to Google and the other search engines that you are up to date and that there is conversation going on about your current website articles and pages and blog posts and such. So in search engine optimization, content really is king. Your website is where you have a chance to display your knowledge, your experience, what it is you love about what you're doing, why you got into what you're doing. This is where you can provide that juicy content that Google likes to see and that other people will like to see. You should really focus your efforts on providing content of value for your website's visitors. You can also establish a dialogue on your website itself. You don't have to do everything through your Facebook page or your Twitter account. You can have a blog where people can leave comments, and it's good to be responsive to those comments. It's good to encourage those comments. For example, if you have a blog post on your website, it could be something that you're commenting on. Maybe there was an article in your newspaper, for example, that you read related to the home care business that you're running. or that general topic. You could post a link to that as a blog post and then provide your commentary on it, and then at the end of the blog post ask a question. Say, what do you think about this? So that you're encouraging your visitors to participate in dialogue, and that encourages them to come back and to link to your website because you've provided a good article and some good insight. So all of these things help keep your website current. Conversation, blogging, adding articles and resources, and Google likes to see that. They will give you preference over a website that's been sitting there stagnant for the last couple of years. Google likes to see you socializing, so when you have your Facebook account and your Google Plus account and your Twitter account all set up and you're using those, make sure you have links to those on your website so that Google can see that and they can see that you're generating some social media buzz. We call it sending out social signals in the SEO industry. And again, Google likes to see these natural relationships get built through social media, through blogging, through all these different avenues of keeping your website interesting and up to date. So a little bit about how design and content can help bring you traffic. Traffic being referrals or new clients that have found you by searching the internet. Probably the most crucial thing is making sure your website is good looking. And good looks are very, very important on the internet. You have as few as 3 seconds to make an impression on someone that visits your website for the first time. So you want to make sure that your website is sharp and professional and conveys a sense of trust to the visitor. You want to make sure that the content on your website, once someone starts reading your home page, for example, or whatever page they land on first, make sure that the content is weblicized, as we like to call it, and is engaging. And that can be done through making it easy to scan through, easy to read. You don't want to have pages full of long paragraphs of text. Nobody's going to sit there and read that on the internet these days. What they want to see is a page of information that they can scan through to get to exactly what they want to find or to get a quick understanding of what it is they're looking at. So you want to make sure it's visually scannable with the eye and it's lightweight and easy to read. And that relevant content educates people and can recruit customers and can recruit referral sources. So you need to make sure that your content is well written and is professional and conveys your expertise. And keeping that updated, again, I can't stress that enough, keeping your content updated. You can also end up attracting people you didn't even consider, such as the media. Maybe you have a journalist in your town doing an article related to aging care. They start doing a little bit of internet searching and your site comes up because you have provided some valuable resources. They may quote you in their news article, which gets linked to from the newspaper website. That sort of thing can happen, and it does start to happen as your website gets better content and better relevancy in the search engines. So the key to this content stuff that we keep talking about here is ultimately about building trust. So when people find you, you want them to be able to find you and to give them that information they need and to have that satisfying experience, which does build that trust that you are an authority in your subject, in your field, and that you know what you're talking about and that you can be trusted to turn to for information. If they have questions, you should be responsive, you should be able to answer those, and all of that can help refer or help to increase the chances that people refer others to you because they have that sense of trust built up now. You want the website to complement the traditional business kind of as a value-added service. You can send your customers or inquiries to your website for additional information, perhaps to download a form or download a PDF containing some details about your services. You need to make sure you have forms on your website that people can fill out for online inquiries, and you are responsive to those forms. Have somebody whose job it is to reply to those immediately. Pick up the phone and call them back or email them back and answer their questions and see, be engaging with them. You can also have a employee portal or an employment portal on your website for job applicants and for your employees if you wanted to provide a resource and training area on your website, for example, for your employees to log into and learn from. Again, website readers are typically not going to sit there and read a lot of information. They tend to be wanting to do things quickly, so that's why it's so important to have your content built and constructed on your website in a concise, readable way that people don't have to dig into. And again, that is done through organizing your content in a visual hierarchy. So have headings at the top of the page, short paragraphs of text, separate those with subheadings and bulleted text. You can have little call-out boxes with some important links or information. Just make sure that it's easy to scan, easy to read through, and engages the user. As you can see, again, content has to be current and maintained. As Marilee mentioned, it's nothing worse to land on a page and see that their events are 2 years old, or the copyright at the bottom says copyright 2008 or something like that. You want to make sure that it is up to date. That's one of the key trust-building factors of any website. Minimize the noise on your website. That can be visual noise or audio noise. Busy designs where you have too much information crowded into the page, or things that are flashing or moving around in a distractive manner, or even some kind of background music. You want to avoid those. Something I saw recently was I landed on a website that had an introductory video on it, which is fine in and of itself, except that every time I hit the home page, that video would start playing, and I didn't want it to. So don't have things that start playing automatically or could otherwise disrupt someone's day. You never know if they're sitting in their office, or they forgot to turn their speakers down, or maybe they have their headphones on and they're listening to some other music on their computer. You want to make sure that the user has control of what's going on the website. Don't assume anything. Using a content management system is a great way to enable you to keep your website up to date without having to know a whole lot about coding. We here at corecubed love a content management system called WordPress, and what WordPress does is enable you to have a secure administrative area that you can log into to update the content on your pages, to create new pages, to do blogging, to upload videos or photos or files. It makes it much easier for the non-technical person to be able to manage a website in a professional manner and keep it up to date and do all of these things that we've been talking about. Think about things being fluid when you're designing things visually, and think visual and consultative. Important considerations for the design aspects of your website. Navigation is another area you want to focus on. To make sure that when someone does land on your website, maybe your home page, or maybe they land on one of the inner pages of your site, make sure they can find out where they are right away, and make sure they can figure out how to get back home, how to find every section on your website that is important quickly and easily. Your home page and your design is your first chance, again, to make a good impression. So make sure that people can find, if they're looking for your pricing or your specific service areas or something like that, you want to make sure they can find that as easily as possible. And that can be done through constructing a well-organized navigation that is catching and easy to use and easy to find. Don't bury your navigation in a flash animation or make people have to learn how to use your navigation through some quirky design. Make it easy to use is the ultimate message here. And easy to get back to, and easy to reference and find at the different parts of your site should they move to another page and decide, oh, well, I wanted to go back and read something else. So navigation from anywhere you are on the site needs to be no more than 3 clicks away. That's kind of the rule of thumb. Don't make anything buried past 3 levels or 3 clicks of the mouse. If you have a particularly large website with a lot of pages and a lot of content, you can look into breaking your navigation up into perhaps 2 levels of menus. Sometimes you'll see websites with a tiny little navigation up at the very tip top of the page for some of the more global types of things like the Contact Us page or the About Us page. And then you'll see the main navigation down below in a separate navigation area. That's one way to help break up a lot of content and keep it easily accessible. Rollover menus where you hover your mouse over a link and a submenu drops down, that can be done as well if necessary. I like to recommend that you don't do that if you don't have to, just because that can add a layer of complexity, which can always add a roadblock here and there for some of your visitors. So if you need to use rollovers, do it in a smart manner and do it with scripting and styling that is going to work across all browsers and all mobile devices for that matter. So again, create your content in a clear visual hierarchy. The most important thing at the top of the page would be the title of that page, and then your content starts flowing in a easily scannable way beneath that. And again, getting back to the information that people have found is crucial. You don't want people to get lost in your website and wondering, well, I just saw something else, how do I get back to that? You want to make sure they can get back to wherever it was they were easily. Using breadcrumb navigations, menus are a good way to do that. You've probably seen those on websites. They're the little text links that say, like, you are here, and it'll have a little visual hierarchy of pages that you have traversed through to get to wherever you are. And you can click your way back up through those pages. So some of the most basic web conventions that are imperative, using your home page as a landing page. Don't overcrowd your home page with information, but make sure that when someone does land there, they know what they're looking at. They know who you are, what you do, and where you are. You want to make sure your Contact Us page is useful and informative. Make sure you have your company's name and address and a phone number, ways to contact you, as many ways to contact you as possible. The actual form that you have on your contact page, don't assume that you know what people want when they're going to contact you. So instead of asking a lot of questions about, for the home care company and or the interested home care client, instead of asking questions about, what age is your elderly mother and what kind of symptoms or that sort of thing, you want to make sure you're not assuming anything. Just make it a form that has a space for their name, their phone number, their email address, and their question. Remove all barriers and make the form as frictionless as possible. Make sure the website has some of the basic usability conventions, such as easy to find links. If you have a link in a paragraph of text that links to another page of your site, you want to make that link stand out. Have it underlined, have it visually colored differently than the rest of your text so that people can recognize it and are more likely to click it. And then don't use underlines unless it actually is a link, because that can be confusing to people on the internet. Everyone's used to seeing underlined text and assuming you can click on it. So you don't want to fool people. That can be frustrating to them. Again, the navigation, you can use a sidebar on your website to take advantage of for sub-navigation menus. Also repeat the main top-level navigation elements of your website in the footer area of your website, so that in case you do have a page that's longer and someone is reading and they scroll to the bottom, your navigation is there again at the bottom. and providing an easy way to get to your contact information from every page on the website is imperative. A little bit more about how to weblicize your website and your content is to keep in mind page hierarchies and organizing things in ways that make sense. You can use color and contrast and size of headings and text to give visual clues as to where people are and how things are organized in order of importance, or categorically or hierarchically. Stick with some simple fonts for easy readability. Fonts that are sans serif, as they call it, tend to be easier to read on screens and on the internet in general. You're looking at sans serif fonts right now on our PowerPoint here, and those are fonts that don't have the little tags hanging off of the letters, such as a font like Times New Roman would have. So you want to be brief but content rich. So there's definitely a balance to figure out as far as how much information to present versus how much or how streamlined that information is. And ways to do that are through optimizing your paragraphs to have an intro, a body, and a conclusion, and then using headings, headlines to summarize things and to organize things into sections, and as teasers, using bulleted lists for people to be able to scan through, and using the language of search marketing, not your industry language, so to speak. So you want to make sure you're not throwing out terms that your general visitors don't really understand. You're throwing out terms that that are accessible to them, that they can pick up on and don't have to learn necessarily. So as far as relevant content goes and the purpose of that, or how that impacts the home care website in particular, you're going to want to inform people of your services, obviously, specific services you may offer or specialize in, and you can look at breaking those up into multiple pages perhaps or multiple categories, and how you are different from your competitors, what sets you apart from the rest, why should people choose you over them, how to find care in an emergency. People want to know, if they think something's wrong with their mother who lives in Florida, they want to know who to contact in an emergency, and so you want to make sure that that information is on your website. And then to educate and inform people, again, the prospective clients and or the people who are already your clients who may want to learn more about what you have to offer or what you can do. And use key messages that clearly state the benefits that your business has over other competitors in your area and what the visitor to your website can do to contact you, to download some information, to sign up for your newsletter. Whatever that action is, you want to make sure that your action is clearly indicated on the home page, on the well, every page of your site would ideally have the call to action. For the home care company, that's typically going to be pick up the phone and call us, or submit our contact form, or submit a referral for that matter. So a little bit about how to keep search engine optimization in mind with all of this and building a search engine friendly design for your website. You definitely want to keep in mind those keywords that you had researched before. You would ideally have a list of keywords that you're optimizing your website for. Typically for home care agencies, that tends to be locations and services, such as Home Care Louisville, Kentucky, for example. And you want to use those in the content of your website, but you have to be cautious here because you don't want to overuse those in the context of your website. If you're trying to get ranked in the search engine results for your location, for the keyword home care, you don't want to overuse that. You want to keep the language of your web page natural sounding and not marketing sounding. You don't want it to appear to Google that you're trying to game the system, basically. You want to make sure your meta tags are filled out with your keywords that you've chosen. You'll ideally use a unique meta title tag for every page on your website, and include the keywords in those pages that are relevant to your efforts. The alt attributes of your images on your pages should have information in those, and that's kind of a descriptive text of what that image contains. And search engines can see that, and that was originally built so that people who were blind and searching or using the internet could listen to the descriptive text of the alt attribute on an image and understand what they were what that image is about. I almost said what they were seeing, but that's not what would be happening. So you want to read going back to how you add keywords and stuff to your text and how you write your text. It helps to read it aloud so that it sounds fluid and it sounds sensible and it does not sound too jargony as far as keywords go. And have people proof your site and proof your text. It really does matter if you're not spelling things correctly and your grammar is a little bit off. So that's very valuable and a very key way of building the trust on your website, not only for humans but for the search engines that are crawling through the text on your website. Another avenue for getting the traffic to your site can be pay-per-click campaigns, PPC, and this is where you are using a tool such as Google AdWords to pay for advertising that shows up on search result pages. And you've probably seen this if you've ever done a Google search for something. At the top of the page will be a little colored box with 2 or 3 links to people who have paid for that positioning on the page. We at corecubed prefer to try and optimize your website organically so that you are appearing there without having to buy the paid positioning at the top of the search results. That's typically a way to get much more qualified and better traffic to your website. Pay-per-click can be costly, but there are certain instances where it can be useful. It's a quick way to determine what people are searching for when they're looking for your services in your area, so you can actually set up small pay-per-click campaigns to help you build your list of keywords to target, for example. But it does nothing to actually help with your organic search engine ranking. And as I said, ultimately that's how you want to attract most of your traffic, is through the organic, naturally built relationships with Google and with your visitors. So using the website to increase the amount of traffic and increase the sources of potential clients. You can start engaging other websites such as directories for aging care, for example. It could be also related to things such as your local Chamber of Commerce. Maybe they have a website with a directory you could get listed in. Again, some of these more naturally organized links can help start bringing in more traffic, not only because those are sitting out there on other websites for people to find, but they are also helping you get positioned higher in the search engines. You can look at local medical society and case management websites. Maybe you can get some traffic from those types of places. Trade associations may have a website where you can have a membership profile and add your logo and add a link back to your website. Newspapers and magazines are great ways to get people to your website if you can become an authority in your area on your subject matter and have articles written about you. That would be excellent. Industry referral sources, websites, look into those, and then social media and blogging. Those are 2 excellent ways to bring traffic to your website. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, why do I need to be on Twitter? Why would a home care company need to be on Twitter, or why would we need a Facebook page? Is that something that we really need? And it definitely is. You may not consider that, or you may not think that people are going to come and be a client because you're out there on your Facebook page talking to people, but what you're doing ultimately is raising awareness, building the trust, establishing yourself as the authority, and bringing people back to your website. Ideally, you'll be blogging from your site, and when you do that, you go to Facebook and you go to Google Plus and you say, hey, check out this new blog post we just wrote, and link back to your website. That brings people back to your site, and all of that in turn helps send those crucial social signals to Google, and it also helps increase the likelihood that people are going to link to you, which increases the likelihood that Google's going to give you preference over your competitors in the search engine, which then increases the likelihood that you're going to get more traffic to your website. So a little bit about mobile marketing of your website. There are a ton of mobile phones out there, and there are statistics to back that up, and it keeps growing and growing and growing amazingly. More and more people are doing their primary internet searching and surfing on a mobile device, whether that be an iPad or an iPhone or Samsung, Google phone, any of these devices. This is where more and more people are starting to use the internet, so it's important to consider your website and how it looks when someone on such a device finds you. Make sure you're using technologies that are not prohibitive to mobile surfing. Flash animations, for example, cannot be seen on mobile devices. Well, iPhones and iPads at least. There are certain other devices you can see flash on, but it's still not a good idea to use that sort of thing. Constructing a mobile optimized website is much easier if your website is built with a content management system. Content management system such as WordPress that I mentioned earlier is constructed so that all of the content is actually sitting in a database, and you are providing different windows to that database based on what device someone is using. Maybe that is the desktop version of your website that someone sitting at home with their laptop is looking at. Maybe that is a version of your website that is optimized for the iPhone, for example. On a phone, you typically want to have a bit more of a watered-down version of your website. But whatever that window you've created is, it's all going back to the database to pull the content from. So that helps you because you only have to update your content in one place, and then the different windows to your content can access that same version of everything. So whether that be your home page, your About Us page, your services page of your website, it's all coming from the same place. Responsive design is a way to provide a website that is optimized for just about any device you might look at it with. A responsive design is a design that shrinks automatically to fit the width of the screen that is being used to look at it. This can be very useful because you only have to maintain one version of the website, but it can also be a little bit more costly up front to design that website from the beginning. But there are other ways using plugins for WordPress, for example, which can detect a device and show a simpler version of your website to that device. You're still ultimately only using one version of your content, but you're having a couple of different windows constructed for the website. Again, keep your mobile website simple. Mobile users are even less likely to do lengthy reading on your website. So if you have a way to detect what someone is looking at your website with, and it happens to be a phone, make sure the first things they see are going to be your phone number, your main services, your service area, the most important things, so that you can hopefully grab them and get them to call you right away. Quick and easy information. And perhaps most important about all this, Google has acknowledged that they are now incorporating mobile website presence into the ranking factors of their search results. So if you have a mobile website or a mobile version of your website, Google can see that and says, oh, well, this is pretty important. We're going to show the mobile version to this person searching because we already know they're on the iPhone. So make sure that you have the mobile version of your website ready and that it too has been optimized for the person using it.
Will, before I get into some other internet-related marketing ideas, we did get a question that I thought you should answer because it's relevant to what you've just been talking about. One of our attendees said, when you make a blog post, should you ping Google after you do that?
That is a great question, and in my standard Internet Geek response, I'm going to have to say it depends. If you're using a content management system such as WordPress, WordPress automatically will send out signals to various places as soon as you do a new blog post, for example. Ideally, you will have a plugin set up on your website. Again, in WordPress, there's a plugin that constructs what's called the XML sitemap on your website, and that's kind of a map of your site that Google and other search engines can read through. It's not really a human readable thing. It's intended to be read by the search engine spiders, but it basically says, here's a new thing that we just published, and the sitemap gets updated automatically, and Google knows that you are or that you have just published something new, and the plugin that you would install in WordPress for the sitemap gets updated automatically every time that you create new content and save something new. So if you have a website that's not built on a content management system, which is going to be pretty hard to update if you're blogging because a blog kind of necessitates a content management system. But there may be certain circumstances, depending on how you have things set up, that it is a good idea to go out to Google, especially through Google's Webmaster Tools, which is a free tool they offer for you to go there and say, okay, please come recrawl our site because we've added something new to it. But in general, if you're using a content management system, this is usually done automatically for you behind the scenes.
And Will mentioned that we do recommend WordPress, and one of the reasons we recommend WordPress is Google really does like a content management system because it does allow the website to be updated regularly, and it is easy to do, so that's one of the reasons we love it as well. I'm just going to cover a few internet-related marketing ideas, but I think one of the things I wanted to mention, because many of you who are attending today wanted to know a new marketing idea or something new to do or one thing to do, and the thing that you need to understand is marketing really is a continuum. It is not a single event. And if you track your results from what's working and you're measuring for success and then continuing to do more of what's working, that's really going to be your key here. And using the Internet is one really sort of an all-encompassing thing, but you also can use email if people have given you permission to do that. So you can, having an email newsletter will help you generate leads from your website because you can cross-refer from your from your email newsletter back to your website. And one other key thing is that you really need to have a budget that you do set for web and marketing specific to the Internet, so that you're having efforts that are ongoing and that are building on each other. One of the other things is that you need to make certain that you are always including information about your website on anything that you're doing, that you're printing, and have your website URL, like ours is corecubed.com. That's also our email address. It's not, corecubed@gmail. It's our name at corecubed, and that way every time we send an email out, people can come back and look at our website and understand what our URL is. So at your website, again, hopefully after what we've gone through today, you'll understand it really isn't a standalone vehicle. It really is one strategic component of a whole marketing strategy, and everything can be run through and integrated and interrelated to your website. So it's a different way to think of it now. It's not just one component. It really is an integrated component. One of the things too, and granted we do this, but using a company that understands business and marketing and how it fits in is really crucial. Website is really a marketing tool. It's not just a technology tool. So that's a pretty crucial thing to understand as well. And different types of channels that you can use in terms of how things get integrated. Will's talked a lot about social media. He's talked a lot about keeping your website relevant and up to date. There's lots of ways that the mobile web can actually help, because as he said, more and more people are using mobile applications or mobile devices to access information. Even if you're using traditional channels like advertising and media relations, you can also integrate those into your website, and then understanding the search engine importance of search engine optimization when you are designing the website is also really incredibly important. And all the channels, all the marketing channels should actually funnel people to your website. And once they get there, again, they need to have what's the clear action you want them to take, and how do they easily get to someplace on that website where they want to get their problem solved, or find information about information that would solve one of their problems for home care or for aging care. So these are some possible actions that they could take, and Will mentioned some of these, but basically what you want them to do is interact with you, and then you also want to be able to, once they've interacted with you, you want them to make certain that you're interacting back with them. But you do have lots of actions that someone can do on the website. And the other thing is that your website really should be where you have a clear description, a clear visual representation, a clear written representation of who you are, what your business is, so that when someone goes there, they get a really good picture about who you are. Will, would you like to talk a little bit about link bait, because you mentioned that before, and I apologize to our attendees. We're a little bit over, but we only have a couple more minutes, so we're just going to keep going.
Yeah. So link bait refers to creating content on your website that is likely to get linked to from other people. And this can be done through blogging, again, blogging about news or articles, your thoughts, your expertise. Maybe you just hired somebody new, you could post a little blurb about them on your blog. Any kind of interesting information that people might want to ultimately link to is great to do for blogging. Videos are a great resource that encourage linking, especially if it's something informative about your services or your expertise or your industry. Anything people can download, maybe a resource sheet that gives them information about other places to learn more about Alzheimer's disease, for example, or something like that. You can run contests on your blog even, 10% off a month of services or something like that for the first person to tweet about us or something like that. Encourage people to link to you, encourage people to spread the news, spread the word about your website, and ultimately drive traffic back to you. Even updating the media when you have an event coming up, or you've just sponsored a new company, or you've hired someone, or you're launching a new line of services, or you've updated your website with something that could be useful or resourceful for people. Send that out to the media through a press release or a e-newsletter. I don't think we mentioned e-newsletters either, but that's a great way if you can start building a base of subscribers through email that you can keep in touch with your existing clients, your inquiries, your associates, anyone that you can think of to get added to a list. You do want to make sure you get their permission to do this first, of course, but anyone you can build an email list with and start communicating to through a monthly newsletter or a weekly newsletter or even quarterly, that can be a great way to help build link bait. And then we have touched on this a little bit, but you really need to make sure that all of these efforts that you're doing are tracked and measured. Knowing what works and what is not working is crucial here. So as Marilee said before, you want to do more of what is working. You want to know where your clients are coming from, your new clients. You want to know how they found you. Did they find you through an internet search? Did they find you because a friend recommended you? Keep track of this stuff. Have a spreadsheet that totals up where, how many internet contacts you had, how many referrals you had, that sort of thing. Because knowing what works helps guide your decisions towards getting more success out of all of your marketing efforts. And also kind of measuring the messages that you're conveying to people, which messaging works, who your audience is, and how you're talking to them can matter. And knowing again, knowing which types of messaging are working are going to help you hone in on getting more clients ultimately. The customer response and what they do in response to the different avenues you've set up and the different channels you've set up for bringing people to your website can help as well. So some of the measurement tools we like to use are Google Analytics. That was a crucial one. It's free. It's very complex, but it can do a lot to help inform you about your website and where people are coming from and what's working and what keywords they're using and what pages they're looking at and more. But something else I want to mention too is that when your phone does ring and someone is inquiring about you, you want to make sure you ask them as well how they found you, because that's one thing you can't track through website statistics software.
For next steps here, you really want to first see if your website is built on a content management system. In this day and age, that's really pretty crucial in terms of being able to have a site that the search engines can crawl through and they're going to find what they want when they get there. You need to see where was the last time the content on your website was changed. And if it was more than a week ago, you need to figure out, let's make a plan for upgrading your website and taking advantage of the huge inbound audience that's out there. Next, create a budget and then a plan of action, and then find a partner, a professional partner who can deliver, who has proven they can deliver, and who understands the industry. And then make a list of who needs to be involved internally, what are you going to outsource, and what talent do you have in-house. So those are really the next steps for you. We do have other presentations in this series. We have two more. The next one is May the 8th, where we're specifically going to talk about social media, how much should you do and what is the right mix. And then we're going to end this 6-part series with integrating channels for marketing penetration. So that's the next items up. You all have been a wonderful audience today. I've been answering questions as Will has been talking, and I believe we covered all of the questions that you sent in ahead of time. And since we're over, I'm just going to say, Will, thank you so very, very much for participating. Your knowledge is always refreshing and enlightening. And thank you, attendees, for today. And please go to corecubed.com about events if you'd like to hear the other recordings, and we hope to see you the next time.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming today.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.